What's good, everybody? Welcome back. Football is finally here, and today we are going to be picking every single game on the Week 1 slate. And let's see if our pick'em record can stay above 500 this season. First up, we've got the Detroit Lions taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. This game has the potential to be a shootout, and if it's going to be a shootout, which I think it will be, you can't bet against Mahomes and the Chiefs. I am going to take Kansas City to win this game. The Lions got this game for a reason. They're on this Week 1 opening kickoff slate for a reason. They're on the trend up. They had some nice offseason additions, especially in the draft. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a stud, and Jack Campbell solidifying that middle linebacker spot will be huge for that defense. Aiden Hutchinson is going to continue to get better. He could turn into an absolute superstar this season. And even with Travis Kelce most likely being out for this game, just came out recently at the time of recording this with a hamstring or a knee injury, my apologies. I still like Kansas City to win this game. I just think they're too good. You're not going to beat them on their home turf, on their opening night, the banner raising night. They're here to defend their title, and even though I don't think they'll do that, they're going to defend their home turf. Next up, we got the Carolina Panthers taking on the Atlanta Falcons. And in this game, I'm going to take the Carolina Panthers to win it. I'm not as high on the Falcons as some others might be. I think they've got a lot of nice pieces. I think Bijan Robinson is going to be a stud. Maybe not right away because they've got a loaded running back room, but he's going to be good. Desmond Ridder, he's not a starter. Plain and simple, he's not a guy. It's kind of bold for them to just roll out with Desmond Ridder as their QB1. I don't even know who their backup is. I couldn't tell you if you put a gun to my head. NFC South is wide open, and in game 1, Bryce Young isn't going to be great, but win this one, continue to build off of that, and maybe they can steal the division. Who knows? After that, we've got the Houston Texans taking on the Baltimore Ravens, and I am pretty easily going to take the Baltimore Ravens to win this game. Texans stink. Plain and simple. Let's just get that out of the way. They suck. The Texans have a rookie quarterback who might not even be smarter than a 5th grader. But if you can ball, you can ball. And let's see if you can ball. Oftentimes, your gut leads you to the team that has the better quarterback, and very obviously in this case, the Ravens have the better quarterback. I do like the pieces that Baltimore has added this offseason. They added Zay Flowers in the draft. They signed Odell Beckham. It's the best weapon to Lamar's career. They've got a new offensive coordinator, pass-first scheme, and you still have Lamar's running ability. Ravens are going to have a great year, and I think they're going to have a great game, and they're going to smack the Houston Texans. Moving on, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Cleveland Browns, and in this one, I'm going to take the Browns. As far as I'm concerned, Joe Burrow is going to play in week 1, but with that injury, how good is he going to be? He might be rushing through it. He shouldn't, but he might be rushing through it. If he plays, he might take time. I don't really know. But even if he does play and he's healthy, I would still take the Browns in this game as an upset. Bengals are the better team, plain and simple. Joe Burrow's the better quarterback. He's better than Deshaun Watson. I think Deshaun Watson is going to get better. We all know what he's capable of, but an athlete, peak shape, 28 years old, playing quarterback. He's not a running back. Doesn't just fall off like that. I just refuse to believe it. I think Deshaun Watson will return to top 10 form. And I think they'll win this game at home, beating the Cincinnati Bengals and getting the job done. Next up, you got the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Indianapolis Colts. And I'm going to take the Colts to win this game in a very shocking upset. I know, but just hear me out. Division games are tough. Everybody knows that. No matter if they're a really terrible team or they're a good team, they're tough. You play them twice. They've got the most experience against you. They've got the most film. Granted, it's a new season, but the Colts are young, got a brand new rookie quarterback who they don't have film on. Upsets happen every week. It's a week-to-week league. Anything can happen. Even good teams can lose to bad teams. I think Anthony Richardson's just talent and everything will be too much for the Jags to handle in week 1, and I think the Jags are going to be the best team in the AFC anyways. They got to face some adversity somewhere, in a week 1 upset to a team with a rookie quarterback in a division that you're supposed to cakewalk. That's some adversity right there. Up next, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Minnesota Vikings. In another slight upset, I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win this game in a shootout. With Tom Brady's retirement in the offseason, Baker Mayfield comes in, stepping into the starting role. And let's be honest, Baker's not great. He's not rookie Baker. He's not 2020 Baker who won the playoff game and went 11-5. He's an adequate player in this league. He deserves to be on a roster, whether that's starter, backup. I think he gets a lot of unnecessary hate, and I think it might be just because all those, people just love to hate. It's trendy. When something's trendy to hate, people are going to continue to hate, and the hate piles on, and it only gets worse. Baker's a good dude. He's an okay quarterback. I'm hoping he can revitalize his career in Tampa. I love watching Mayfield play, and honestly, I think the Vikings are frauds. Honestly, they won 13 games last season. 11 of those were by one score. 11-0 in one-score games. That is a lot. So when they lost, they got blown out. Doesn't sound very great, does it? I'm also not really sure why they released Dalvin Cook. I believe in Alexander Mattison. I think he'll get the job done. But you have a top running back on an okay contract. It wasn't for cap space. I mean, maybe down the road, but like this season, it's fine. Like, what are you doing? NFC is just a mess, and I think the Vikings are a mess, and I think Tampa will win this one in a high-scoring shootout. Next up, you got the Tennessee Titans taking on the New Orleans Saints, and in this one I'm going to actually take the Titans in another upset. I know week 1 is always chaos, so that's kind of what I'm going for here. I do think the Saints are the best team in that division. You know, they've got the best quarterback in that division with Derek Carr. They've got Michael Thomas coming back. I still think he's a low-end wide receiver 1 at best. They've got Chris Olave, who's a stud. They've got Alvin Kamara coming back after his suspension's over. Jamal Williams, dog. The Titans are not good, but they're not terrible. We call that mid. The Titans are mid. I think Derek Carr is going to struggle in his first game, whether that's because of nerves. You know, he's just that kind of guy that you would expect would be. Everyone's nervous. Everyone feels things. Everyone has feeling, unless you're a psychopath. We know how shaky guys like Derek Carr can be. He's the average. He's like an average quarterback. If you're worse than Derek Carr, you're a bad quarterback. If you're better than Derek Carr, you're a good quarterback. He's like number 16 in a list of 32. Pretty simple. Both teams remind me of each other. They've got pretty mid quarterbacks, some offensive talent, and pretty similar defenses in my eyes. They might not play the same schematically, but I do believe that both teams will have a similar result to the end of their season. I don't know how to explain that, but they just give off the same vibe. It'll be an okay game, not one that you really want to watch. Thank God it's not on prime time, but I still have the Titans coming out on top. Next game on the schedule is the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in this one, I'm going to take another upset, shocker, the Pittsburgh Steelers. If the Steelers are going to win this game or any game this season, Kenny Pickett just has to be average. That's it. Top 15. That's all you got to ask out of him. Steelers defense is just too good. When TJ Watt plays, they're dominant. People often overlook how valuable and good TJ Watt is. We're potentially talking about the greatest edge rusher of all time. I don't think people comprehend that enough. One of my concerns with the Niners is Brock Purdy. I know he's healthy and he's cleared to play, but elbow injuries, his job is to throw the ball. When your elbow's shot, your elbow's shot. Look at Big Ben. Look at the baseball players. He had surgery on it. Like, you think of Josh Allen. He hurt his UCL last season too, but he didn't have surgery. Granted, that might have been his own choice. I would even be concerned about Josh Allen if it was the same thing. I'm not being a homer here. I'm also a bit concerned about his actual talent. Teams are actually going to be game planning for him now. He's the QB1. He's the guy in San Francisco. They just traded away Trey Lance, one of the worst draft picks in history. One of the worst trade-ups in history, which is one of the worst trade-ups in the history of the league. Both teams have solid weapons. I love what the Niners have with Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. I might be missing some too. And the Steelers have solid weapons too with George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth, Najee Harris. I'm not a big fan of, but he can run a motherfucker over, let's be honest. This game really has potential to be a dud or a complete blowout or even a shootout. If the Steelers were going to be a good Super Bowl contending team this year, they would remind me of the 49ers teams of the past couple of years with getting enough out of their quarterback who isn't a top 10 guy, but the system and the scheme is easy. It's just easy. It's the easiest scheme in the league. I could do it if I could throw the ball more than 10 yards. Next up, we got the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Washington Commanders, and I don't think there's any shock here. I'm taking the Commanders. Are you going to argue with me about it? Didn't think so. The Cardinals are fielding a junior varsity football team with Murr from Impractical Jokers as the head coach. Next up, we got the Green Bay Packers taking on the Chicago Bears. Pretty confidently, I am going to take the Green Bay Packers to win this game. I am the #1 certified Justin Fields hater. I think he stinks. He can run the ball. Cool. That's not his job. What is a quarterback's job? Let me ask you real quick. That's right. It's to throw the ball. To throw the ball downfield. Yes, he can make plays with his legs, but we've seen nothing from his arm. He could whip that thing, but he doesn't progress through his reads, and I think the Packers won't be a great team either. I am excited to see what Jordan Love can do. It's year 4. Granted, it's not his fault that it didn't start till year 4. He was sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. He must have learned a lot. We have to see something because, granted, if the Packers are a bad team this year, they're going to have a higher draft pick. They have some capital to trade up to one of those teams that doesn't need a guy. Like if the Houston Tech, oh, they don't have their pick. Never mind. Basically, what I'm trying to say is if the Packers suck and Love stinks, They're going to go get a guy. Next game on the schedule is the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Denver Broncos. I don't think this will be much of a shock to anybody, honestly, but I'm going to take the Denver Broncos to win this game pretty handedly. We all know 2022 was a disaster for Denver. They traded for Russell Wilson. They gave up Farmer's Hall, whatever you want to call it, to get the guy. It's like they had to sell the house because they couldn't afford the mortgage anymore to get this guy, and he sucked. Was it his fault? Maybe. Seemed like he was a little bit overweight last season, and Nathaniel Hackett is not a good head coach. One of the things I saw out of Denver last season was they were trying to get Russ to play in a style that he doesn't play. Russ is a move out of the pocket, roll out and throw on the run type of player. You gotta get him on the move. You gotta move the pocket. And I think Sean Payton is the perfect guy to not only change the culture in Denver, but help Russell Wilson go back to his former self. I can't see him go out sad like that, man. As a football fan, you just want to see Russ succeed. You want to see him ball out. Now, as for the Raiders, Jimmy G comes in and replaces Derek Carr. They're basically the same quarterback, except Garoppolo has familiarity with McDaniel's system with their time in New England. I think the Raiders are a disaster. They're a dumpster fire. The Raiders will easily be the worst team in the AFC West. After that, we got the Miami Dolphins taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. And I am going to take the away team, the Miami Dolphins, to win this game. Both of these teams had potential to be Super Bowl contenders. They both had the potential to go on a run. They both got depth. They both got superstar talent on both sides of the ball. Both of these teams are going to be very fun to watch this season. You don't want to miss one of these games if you're a fan of these teams, or if your team's on a bye week. Like, turn on a Dolphins game or turn on a Chargers game. They're electric. They're fun to watch. I think what this game ultimately comes down to is, do any of the quarterbacks get injured? Coaching. Brandon Staley's not a very good coach. Mike McDaniels, he's all right, but even with those factors out of the way, who's got the ball last? In competitive games with two really good teams, the winner is usually going to be who ends the game with the ball in their hands. My best guess is the Miami Dolphins. Next up, we got the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the New England Patriots. And in this game, I am going to take the New England Patriots. I think the Eagles are still a good team. I think they got a little bit lucky last year. I think they're slightly overrated. They're still a good team loaded with talent. They might have the most loaded roster in the league, but their schedule was a cakewalk last year. Don't get it twisted. I think Mac Jones is going to be much better, more like his rookie season self. He's finally got a real offensive coordinator. Bill Belichick should be sent to the retirement home for letting Matt Patricia be the offensive coordinator for your second year. Bill, buddy, what the hell? I mean, I'm a Bills fan. I'm not complaining. I want the Patriots to suck. But, like, what the hell are you doing? I think this game is going to be close. I think it'll be a nail-biter. It's not going to be a very high-scoring game. I would take the under if you're betting on this. I just like New England to win based off a gut feeling. I like upsets. Upsets are fun. Chaos. It's week one. Week one's always chaos. Moving on, we've got the Los Angeles Rams taking on the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm going to take the Seahawks to win this game pretty easily. I think that's not really up much of a debate. The Rams have top-end talent on their roster that will win them games alone. Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp when he comes back, Aaron Donald. They've got a top-5 coach. Don't forget that. Sean McVay is a good coach. He's just got a really bad roster that is screwed with cap space. They've got no money. They sold their soul. They sold the mortgage. They sold the house to win the Super Bowl. And they did. They won. Good. But they're going to be bad for a little bit. They might be able to luck their way into a guy like Caleb Williams or Drake May or any other top guys. But again, with that top end talent, I don't think they're going to be that bad to end up getting a guy like that. It could end up being a situation for them like 2016 when they traded up to draft Jared Goff first overall. Not to mention the amount of rookies they have on this team because of that cap space. How are those guys going to do? If they're good, like these rookies outperform their expectations, we might be talking about a fringe wildcard team. But for the most part, I love the Rams. I love Sean McVay. I was happy when they won the Super Bowl. It's just not there, man. I don't know how else to put it. They're just not going to be good. They're going to win enough games with that top-end talent. They're not good. They're just not good. Now for the Seahawks. They addressed some of their needs offseason. They did a little bit to fix their terrible run defense. Bobby Wagner's back. That's cool. He might be a little bit washed, according to some people. I don't know much about it to make a comment on that specifically. But what I do know is they added some nice pieces to help out Geno Smith with Jackson Smith-Njigba and Zach Charbonnet? I don't know. Let me know. I don't know. Geno doesn't fall off and he can stay consistent with his production from last season. Seattle has a good chance to be a very good team again this season and actually challenge San Francisco for the division. We all know the Cardinals aren't going to win it. The Rams aren't going to win it. They could be a wild card team. They're not going to win the division. And if they're going to win the division like I said they could, You can't lose games like this, and I don't think they will, so that's why I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks to win this game. Now we're moving on to the primetime games of the week. Sunday Night Football, we got the Dallas Cowboys taking on the New York Giants. And I just got a gut feeling about this one that the Dallas Cowboys are going to win this one in a blowout. I think the New York Giants are taking steps in the right direction with Brian Daboll. Daniel Jones progressed a lot last season. He cut back on those turnovers. Didn't throw that many touchdowns. He was efficient. It's like I said with Kenny Pickett earlier. If you can be a top 15 guy, you can do something. They won a playoff game. That's something. I think one of the stories this season, especially for Dallas, is Dak Prescott. He did not play very well last season. Led the league in interceptions. I don't think that's going to happen again. I've been guilty of hating on Dak in the past. I've come to the realization that he's not that bad. He is not top 10, and I think a lot of that hate came from, one, playing for Dallas, the football mecca of the world, and two, being ranked top 10 when he shouldn't have been. You can win games with Dak. I think Dallas is going to win a lot of games this year. Dallas is going to be a very good team. That being said, Dallas has also added a nice piece. They added Brandon Cooks. That's a great weapon to have. Dak will get better. And again, as for the Giants, I think they're just going to start off on a bad foot. I think they'll be okay. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs again. They'll win enough games. They'll win 7+ games. And for the final game of the week, my favorite, the one I'm looking forward to, the Buffalo Bills taking on the New Jersey Jets, baby. And it might be a little bit of Homer syndrome, but I don't think the Jets are on the Bills level at all, and I am going to take the Buffalo Bills to win this game. Rodgers is a huge upgrade over Zach Wilson and Mike White at quarterback, but again, I don't think he's on Allen's level. Rodgers has really fallen off ever since the back end of his MVP season, his last one, 2021. Hasn't thrown for over 300 yards since December 2021. And while I'm a firm believer in efficiency over necessarily stat padding, it says a lot about a guy of Aaron Rodgers' caliber, what we know him to be, an elite star quarterback, not getting that kind of stat. Like, let's put it into perspective. If Patrick Mahomes went 20 games without throwing for over 300 yards, Twitter would lose its mind, or X, sorry. Ugh. But just think about that for a second. Imagine Patrick Mahomes not throwing for over 300 yards. You think something's wrong with the guy. Now, I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers is just a fraud, he's terrible, but it says the age is starting to get up to him. But he have a Peyton Manning type fall off this season? I mean, even though they still won the Super Bowl, but like, how much of his fall off last season was just Green Bay sucking and having no weapons? He's reunited with Nathaniel Hackett, the coordinator that got him the back-to-back MVP, so let's see what they can do together. Now, as for the rest of the roster, I think the O-lines are pretty equal. The Jets have the better running backs. They've got Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook, brother of James. The Bills clear them with their wide receivers. Diggs, Davis, Sherfield, Hardy, Shakir, all better. What do the Jets have? Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard, Corey Davis retired. That sucks. I'll take the Bills wide receivers any day of the week. Bills have better tight ends. They've got, what's his name? Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. I should know that. And I'll take the Bills safeties, Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde over Adrian Amos. Outside of that, you could argue every other position group is pretty much equal. I might even give the D-line to the Bills if Vaughn was playing, but he's not. So that's why I consider that one equal. And with all that, just the disrespect around Buffalo has gotten a little bit crazy, a little too much for my liking. I think Buffalo's going to show them, whether that's in week 1 or week 2 or week 3. It might take them a little while, but stop sleeping on Buffalo. And with that, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, and in the comments down below, let me know your predictions for this week. Do you agree with my picks? And on your way out, please subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and I would greatly appreciate it. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and I would really appreciate it. If you're new here, you can help us get there. And that's all I got. As a wise man once said, football's back, baby.